Hij kreeg voor elkaar dat het gras naast het Witte Huis door de Obama's werd veranderd in een moestuin. Hij verkocht meer dan 1 miljoen exemplaren van een boek over de noodzaak ons eten weer gezond te maken. Hij klaagt de voedselindustrie aan, omdat de dieren, boeren en consumenten daaronder lijden. Ontmoeting met activist en hoogleraar Michael Pollan, die geldt als de Amerikaanse goeroe van een groene keukenrevolutie.
Mr. Pollan, why do you call cooking a political act?
Well, it's only when you cook that you have the power to choose what kind of agriculture you want to support. So if you're buying processed food, the company that processed it is making the decisions of where to get the food, whether it's organic or not organic, whether it's local or global, and you give up all that power. But if you're shopping yourself, you can look and see where things were grown. And if you want things that are only from the Netherlands, you can decide that. If you want things that are local, you can decide that. If you care about organic, you can decide
So
that.
that's a sort of voting.
It's a vote. It's voting with your fork.
Yeah.
And it's a very important power.
Yeah.
And we see that it's building a new kind of agriculture, or a revival of an old kind of agriculture. That is one of the more exciting developments going on in the world today, which is the return of diversified, small, careful farming.
And why is it important to cook oneself?
Because, well, if you can afford to have another human cook for you, fine, go ahead.
Take a personal
Be
cook.
my guest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some people can. The key thing is having a human being rather than a corporation do your cooking. Because corporations don't cook very well. This is what we know. We've seen that. They use too much salt, sugar, and fat. They use too many additives because they cook their food, they have to cover up the fact that food is cooked long ago and far away. And they also cook kinds of foods that we don't cook that often, special occasion foods like French fries, which they can make very easy, very cheaply. You try making that at home, and it's such a pain, and it's so much work, and it's such a mess that you'll only make it once a month or so.
Yeah.
But if you let corporations cook, you can have that twice a day, and that's when people get into trouble.
Let's make a dish that you really like yourself.
Well, this is a dish for a busy day when I don't have time to do a long, complicated cook with a lot of chopping onions and things like that.
So what will it be?
So we're going to make some pasta, fresh pasta, which I see they have beautiful fresh pasta here, with some greens. We'll use spinach and sautéed with some garlic, maybe a squirt of lemon.
Okay.
And there's some beautiful small tomatoes. We'll throw some of those on. So let's check out the spinach.
Popeye Pollan.
I love spinach.
You love spinach.
So it's true.
Yeah.
And
Why do you love? Do you know why you love spinach?
I love greens. I love eating greens. It's springtime, and we have, people have been eating greens in the spring for millions of years. Now, here's another innovation of modern life that I think is really positive. In a sense, this is a processed food because it's been carefully cleaned, washed in water, and so we don't have to wash it. So we're trying to make this meal in 15 minutes, and this is going to save us all the time of washing it. So I think that's a plus on a busy night.
Fine. Okay. Some of these?
Yeah, these look interesting. I like the shape of these. What are they called? Mini block tomatoes.
Yeah. Probably by Philip Stark designed.
Now, what I would do, I don't know if this is allowed in.
Yeah,
in
do
this
so.
country,
Do
but
so. Yeah.
These are good. They have some sugar and they have some acid. Okay. We don't need a lot of these.
Oh. This is dark bread. I mean, it's
Whole
really
grain?
solid whole grain bread.
Yeah, you can tell by picking it up too. It's got some weight. Oh, it smells.
What's
This
sad
is a
about
beautiful bread.
what's sad about bread nowadays?
Well, bread was a very nutritious food for thousands of years. We discovered it 6,000 years ago in Egypt, how to bake bread, and it was an amazing advance. It's a great technology for transforming grass seeds into a very nutritious food. Wheat is a grass seed. But around about 1880, we figured out a way to ruin flour, and that was to mill it completely white. We developed a technology called roller mills that allowed us to remove the germ and the bran completely, leaving just the starch, basically the endosperm.
Why did we do that?
The milling industry liked white flour better because it didn't go bad. And the reason is that the germ goes rancid eventually after you mill flour. So when we discovered how to make completely white flour, we had an enormous health problem. There were nutritional deficiencies all across Europe. People were getting sick because they didn't have any B vitamins, and they were missing omega-3 fatty acids. And what had been a very healthy staple food, representing about 50% of the calories in the European diet for most of European history, suddenly was making people sick. The solution was not to go back to brown bread. No. The solution was to fortify white flour, to add vitamins back. So that then the
Artificial ones.
artificial ones, and that certainly made it better, but it could only make it as good as we understood what we had taken out. We understood we'd taken out these B vitamins and folic acid and things like that, but there may be other things we lost as well, including the bran, the fiber, which turns out to be another important nutrient.
You once stated dependency of the food industry is cultivated helplessness. What did you mean by that?
Well, the food industry has an agenda. Their agenda is to process food as much as possible. They make more money selling you white flour than brown. You want to know why? Because they take the parts they've removed from it, the bran and the germ, and they sell it to the pharmaceutical industry for them to make supplements to feed back to us to make up for the... So they sell it twice to us. It's very hard to make money selling simple food. A tomato, an asparagus. The margins are tiny, the profits are tiny. But the more you process it, the more steps you take, the more ingredients you add, the more convenience you add, it becomes incredibly profitable. So the imperative of industry is at war with the imperative of biology, of human biology. Our bodies do better with the simplest, least processed food. The industry does best with the most processed. And you don't want to let this get dark, because it'll start getting bitter.
Yeah.
But that's now kind of infusing the oil.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't take very long.
Yeah?
No. That's going in here. Careful, buddy. You're gonna ruin this dish. If you want to be useful, find me some salt. Okay, I need some salt.
Okay. Seeing green, what did you write to Obama in the New York Times?
I wrote an open letter to the next president in the fall of 2008, laying out an agenda for how to reform the American food system and how to basically bring our agricultural policies in line with our health policies. Because right now they're at complete loggerheads. We are subsidizing high fructose corn syrup, which is causing type 2 diabetes, and we're also subsidizing the healthcare costs to deal with type 2 diabetes. So we're subsidizing both sides in the war on diabetes. This is insane. Yeah. We have to stop subsidizing junk food. We have to change our agricultural policies. And then there are many environmental reasons we need to do it also. We need to diversify our farming. And one of the things I suggested, they plant an organic garden at the White House.
What happened to the garden of the White House?
When they first started it, they spoke about how it was an organic garden. And whenever you saw it, there was an organic garden at the White House. And then, I think rather conspicuously, they stopped using the word organic to describe it. It's a beautiful garden, I've seen it, and it is organic. But the pesticide industry complained that she wasn't using any pesticides. And in fact, the head of the Crop Life Association, which is one of the big pesticide lobbies in Washington, wrote the president an angry letter saying that Michelle's garden is impugning the reputation of pesticides, and she should use pesticides.
And then what happened?
Well, something interesting happened after that. First, they stopped calling it an organic garden. See how look how nice this is. Yeah. This is, we can taste this now. And then the man who wrote the letter, who was the head of the Crop Life Association, was given a very important job in the administration as the trade representative in the Department of Agriculture.
How angry do you become when you hear something like that?
I was angry when I heard that. I don't often get angry. Isn't that good?
Great, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you,
Frénk.
I must admit, it's excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's 15 minutes. Very simple.
Sure is. Yeah. Michael, what do you consider a real dilemma? Something that you haven't solved yourself yet when it comes to these problems?
To food?
Yeah.
The big dilemma is making beautiful food like this accessible to everybody. The fact is that organic food, locally grown food, costs more. In a market like this, not too much more, but I think we have to figure out a way to democratize good quality food.
There's a Dutch professor, Louise Fresco. She worked for the Food and Agricultural Organization in Italy, and she states that part of your thoughts are scientific nonsense.
Well, that's just rhetoric. What does she mean specifically?
She says, for instance,
that we can't feed the world organically? Is that what she's
no,
saying?
she says, for instance, when you're stating that you have to eat locally, that you must try to eat food that has been produced in your surroundings, is impossible when you have to feed a city with millions of people.
Yeah, but that's not my argument. My argument is eat local when you can, eat organic when you can. The key thing is to eat real food. That's the first principle. Don't eat processed food. Local is not an absolutist ethic. There is not enough local food to feed everybody, without question. Right now, there's not enough organic food to feed everybody. But I must point out to her and other people who say this that there is not enough conventional food to feed everybody. What's that about? We are growing 6,000 calories for every human on this planet right now. 6,000 calories of food per day. People only need 2,000. Yet there are a billion people hungry now. So this industrial food system we have is not feeding the world.
How is it to be called a guru?
I reject the word guru. I don't trust gurus. I don't like gurus. Gurus imply that you're a blind obedience to someone else's ideas.
Food god. They even mention the word food god.
Yeah, but I don't use these words. I can't control what other people say.
No, I'm just wondering
It
how
makes
you
me
experience
it makes me uncomfortable. It makes me very uncomfortable. Look, people are very weird about food, very neurotic about food. We are looking for guidance. We are looking for all the answers. We want someone to tell us, eat this, not that. This is ridiculous. It's food. It's pleasure. We don't have to think about food that way. We merely, the main distinction that we need to draw is between real food. I mean, my big rule is eat food, not too much, mostly plants.
Okay.
Does Louise Fresco have a problem with that?
Stay healthy, keep alive.
Thank you, Frénk. Enjoy your dinner.